If you love hurricanes, daiquiris, and, well, any rum cocktail, listen up. Captain Morgan's about to shake things up like never before. We're talking Bourbon Street, New Orleans, home to legendary drinks and unforgettable moments. But what if we told you the most iconic cocktails here have one thing in common? Hint, it's not bourbon. That's right, it's rum. And Captain Morgan is bringing unforgettable fun to Bourbon Street in a way you won't want to miss. Get ready for something big as we gear up for Super Bowl 59. Make sure to keep your eyes on NOLA's most iconic street. Who knows, Bourbon Street might just need a new name. Stay tuned for clues and get ready for the most legendary adventure yet. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company, New York, New York.
Reese on the radio.
There must be some mistake. You're black?
Annoying Negro since 1969.
Reese on the radio. Whack FM.
All right, ladies, buckle up. It's showtime.
Yeah! What's going on, you scallywags out there? You know what time it is. It's time for the world's most hated and most racist online show in America. It's the Reese on the Radio Rundown with yours truly, Mr. Reese on the Radio. Thank you for all being here and being here early. What's going on, Keone? Welcome back. Give that man a shout out. Why not? Hey! I got to give another shout out, folks. I'm a different person today. For those of you who don't know, I am the hater extraordinaire. I say it all the time. I'm a hater like Gigantor. Still will be, always will be, deep in who I am. I'm your favorite hater. But I do love. I have since I was a child. In fact, my old friend Jamie Montgomery used to say, Reese, you are in love with being in love. They got me for another 90 days with no explanation. As I was saying, my friend Jamie used to say, you are in love with love. And I am in love with love. I was a romantic, quiet as kept. I'm going to tell a little story that a lot of you don't know. Reese on the Radio loves a good romantic comedy. I'm kind of a fan. I'll admit that. It's idealistic and silly, almost a little fagalist. But I do like a good romantic comedy, as long as it's funny. But nonetheless, I love love. And I have to give an applause to two people who are important to me. Those two people are Ellis. Those people are Ellis and Ellen. Ellen from Germany, who just came into the United States about a month ago, has just married her love of now, a couple of years now. And who is Ellis? Now, Ellis is the baby daddy for Rosie, right? So that's her ex-husband, right? So Ellis is Rosie's ex-husband. They have a son together who you've seen on the show, little Ellis, right? And Ellis got married to his girlfriend and now bride, Ellen, from Germany. And so I affectionately refer to Ellis as my husband-in-law. That's right. That's what he is. I think it's catchy. I think that everybody should use it. If you are cool with your girlfriend's ex-husband or ex-lover, whatever it is, if y'all are cool, you should refer to him as your husband-in-law. That's what you would refer to it. Okay, so Amy just got a new kitten, and he keeps swatting at my hands. You're going to have to sit still. I'm sorry about your kitty, Amy. But please, give it up again for Ellen and Ellis, my husband-in-law. My husband-in-law has found true love and got married. I prefer Buddy. I don't care. I'm just going to use it. I'm just using it. He thinks it's hilarious, and Ellen, she loves it. She likes it. And that's why I'm going to introduce him every time we go out. I'm going to say, oh, this is Ellen and my husband-in-law, Ellis. That'll freak them all out. Husband-in-law? How does that work? I mean, language doesn't matter. What the hell? I'll show a picture of them. They did something that Rosie and I were going to do. They kind of stole our idea without stealing our idea. They went to the Graceland Chapel, and they were married by Elvis, which is something Roseanne and I talked about doing, but they wouldn't done it. So after we've seen it done, one, we don't want to bite on them. We don't want to bite off them, so we decided, it probably wasn't a good deal. For us, we saw them do it, and we were kind of like, maybe we were a little ahead of our skis on the idea, but this was perfect for Ellen and Ellis, and we're very, very proud of them and very happy for them. So when they come back home, that's going to be great, and we love them, and we adore them. So enough with the applause. I've got plenty of stuff to move into today. Again, thank you for joining us, folks. We got to talk about the world that is changing in front of us. Now, many moons ago, back in 2008, I made the argument about Barack Obama's hope and change. Don't worry, this is not about Barack Obama. I've talked about him enough. But the phrase that I was arguing with people about was like, don't you want change? They all said, come on, man, what's wrong with you? Don't you want change? And I went, your mother died. There's some change for you. How about them apples? Someone ran over your dog. How about that change? Are you for that change? Oh, your girlfriend gave you syphilis. That's going to change peeing for a while. You like that change? See, stupid, not all change is good. And I'm trying to explain to people all the time. You have to know what you're talking about. Change, in a general way, does not always mean good. Okay? So when the world is changing in front of us, folks, you have to ask yourself, what kind of change are you ready for? So I thought of this change, folks. Who here watches football? Anyone? Can you raise your hand? Raise your hand. I'll pretend that I can see you. But raise your hand if you love football. I love football. I'm a Jets fan. I have to love football if I'm a Jets fan. They suck. But if you like a little bit of football, maybe your team's better than mine. Perhaps you are a Carolina Panthers football fan. Huh? You were a big fan of Cam Newton. You probably like Sam Darnold now, even though he's kind of on the iffy side. He's my old quarterback from the Jets. Huh? Maybe you like William McCaffrey. Great player on the Carolina Panthers. But here's the question I want to ask you. Are you ready for this change? How about this change? This is the Carolina Panthers' new cheerleader. Do you notice something interesting about this cheerleader other than the bald head? Here's the story. The Carolina Panthers hired what many believe is the NFL's first openly transgender cheerleader. Justine Lindsay, 29, will join the Panthers cheerleading team, the Tomcats, according to an Instagram post from Lindsay. That's right, folks. The Carolina Panthers, according to this particular cheerleader, who appears to be on the field wearing a Carolina Panthers cheerleading jersey, is going to be the new transgender cheerleader for the Carolina Panthers, the Tomcats. Quote, "Cats out the bag. You are looking at the newest member of the Carolina Panthers, Tomcats cheerleaders, as the first transgender female," Lindsay wrote alongside a smiling picture of Lindsay in the new uniform. "You should all be happy." So, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I ask you one more time. Are you ready for the world that's changing in front of you? There's nothing you can do about it. Now, you can't boycott the Carolina Panthers just because they have a trans cheerleader, can you? That would just be wrong. And see, my kids, they're screaming at me, my new stepkids. They are screaming at me because I refuse to acknowledge that this is a good thing, that this is great, that this is fantastic. I refuse. I've got troubles with this. And they're all legitimate. We know that. I don't need to go over them 100 times. Trust me, I'll explain it to you in a minute. Because I've got more video you all need to watch. Please stick around. This gets better. But they are all angry at me because I refuse to see the world in their view. They refuse to see the damage that this does to our society. They just want me to see it their way. That's fine. Those are kids. They're dumb and impressionable. They'll believe anything that their peers tell them to believe in. They're mush, right? They're almost bullied into believing what they believe. But again, folks, there you go. There you have it. But don't think that this is going without pushback. Let's give a congratulations to the gentleman over at the Tampa Bay Rays. Over at the Tampa Bay Rays, this story is very, very enlightening. Multiple Tampa Bay Rays players refused to wear the gay pride logo on their uniforms. Multiple members of the Tampa Bay Rays refused to wear those logos during a recent game. During the Saturday matchup between the Rays and the Chicago White Sox, the team decided to put a rainbow flag logo on their uniforms to celebrate Pride Month. But not all the players were having it. Rays pitchers Jason Adam, Jalen Beeks, Brooks Raley, Jeffrey Spriggs, and Ryan Thompson all refused to wear the logos on their uniform. Adam said the following when explaining the decision him and his teammates made according to the same TMZ report. So it's a hard decision because ultimately we said what we want is them to know that they are all welcome and loved here. But when you put it on our bodies, I think a lot of guys decided that it's just a lifestyle, maybe not that they look down on anybody or think differently. It's just that maybe we don't want to encourage it if we believe in Jesus, who've encouraged us to live a lifestyle that would abstain from that behavior. Just like Jesus encourages me to be, as a heterosexual man, to abstain from sex outside of the confines of marriage. It's no different. My biggest question here is, why do sports teams feel they need to get involved in social issues at all? Well, that's what the writer's asking. We all can ask that question. But see, some of these people, like our young people, are bullied into this. Now, I'm going to tell you a story out of school. You're not going to believe this. But I promise you it's true. I used to work for a company called U-Haul. I worked in the corporate office of U-Haul, the local Woodbridge corporate office of U-Haul. Now, while I was there, I was very much involved with a lot of the senior executives. On some occasions, I had to talk to and directly report to the company's CEO, Joe Schoen. Look him up. Joe Schoen, who lives in Phoenix, Arizona, where U-Haul is based, is a Trump supporter, a card-carrying Trump supporter. But if you look on U-Haul's website, you will see a lot of things about sustainability on its website, talking about green the usage of green things in U-Haul's sort of structure. They have these things. If you've rented a U-Haul, you may not know this. They have these things called furniture blankets. And these are the blankets that you put around your valuables, like your wood furniture or other things that you want to keep protected. And you get these furniture blankets. The next time you're at U-Haul, go and look at one of the furniture blankets. You'll find out the material on the furniture blankets. You'll know that I'm telling you the truth when you see them. The furniture blanket is made from recycled denim. This is part of the sustainability. Right? That's what it's called. That's what green nonsense is called, sustainability. Joe Schoen is all on board for sustainability. Why? Not because it's profitable, because it's good PR. Try this on for size. Go into a U-Haul when you can and go inside and go check out their packing peanuts. Go into one of their stores and grab their packing peanuts. You can do this in front of the employees. Ask them to open up the bag and to give you one. Then eat it. The packing peanuts are made from rice. It tastes like a rice cake. When I was an area field manager for U-Haul, I used to do this in front of my prospects. So somebody would be a U-Haul dealer, as a joke. I would grab a handful and I would throw them in my mouth and I would chew them. And they go, "Oh my God, you're eating the packing peanuts." And I would go, "Yeah, they're just rice." This is all part of the sustainability. Now, ask anybody who's a leftist. They go, "Wait a minute, Joe Schoen's a Trump supporter, but he's doing green stuff for U-Haul?" Because it's good business. It's all cool. You can say it. This is how you keep the pitchforks from your doors. That's why the Tampa Bay Rays are doing this. That's why the Carolina Panthers are doing this. It doesn't matter whether or not they believe in it or not. This is to keep the pitchforks and the people on Twitter away from their front door. So if you're asking yourself the question, why do they even bother to do this? That's why. But is that a good thing? Why drive away your core audience to appease less than 1% of the population? Or to appease a group of people who don't even buy or participate in your product? The Tampa Bay Rays? What woke, bisexual, transgender, blue-haired, hippie young person is watching baseball? What do you think the percentages of Tampa Bay Ray fans are in that category? I'm going to go with a big fat 0, which I believe, ironically, was the score against the Chicago White Sox when they played them during this stupid game. But nonetheless, they lost, as they should have. But come on, how stupid is that? But again, I ask, what change are you looking for? How is this going to appeal to people on the stands? The cheerleaders are there as eye candy for the Carolina Panthers, especially if the team has got a crappy season. Some guys come in. Look, I know they're cretins, but the guys are drinking beer. Football's is a guys. It's where toxic masculinity, if we're going to call it that, it's where it lives. And guys want to see that. They want to be dancing around. They want to dancing with the cheerleaders. Come on, boys. Yeah. Have another beer. Yeah. And the guys is like, "Hey, God, I love them cheerleaders." Now what do you think they're going to be saying? "Oh, dude, the cheerleaders are over here." Nah, okay. Who here watched that single ladies video with Beyonce? Remember that song? "Oh, the single ladies." Have you ever watched that music video? Isn't it true? I heard this rumor. Isn't the girl or the alleged girl on the left-hand side, the one that's to the right of Beyonce, isn't that supposed to be a dude? If that's true, how did you feel after you saw that? You would probably check it. I was like, "Damn, look at the ass on that one." Can you imagine the disappointment? Bro, the Lightning had Pride Night last month. Gays don't watch hockey. It's probably too brutal. But I'm just wondering, what? It makes no sense. None of this makes any sense. But again, for the reasons that it's out there, it's just to keep the crazies away from them. Now, if you want to see something even worse, folks, in Dallas, Texas, of all places, now who'd have thunk? In Dallas, Texas? Like when you think Texas, when you think Rawhide, when you think John Wayne, you don't think this. Can somebody explain to me what it is that I just watched in Dallas, Texas? Was that a drag queen dancing in a nightclub getting dollar bills from children? Oh, yes, it was. Here's how it turned out outside of this event. Oh, the evangelicals got a hold of this.
Do you think exposing children to drag will result in more kids doing drag eventually?
I think so, and I hope so.
Do you like dancing?
Holy moly. Listen to that question again. Listen to that question again. Do you think that dancing in drag in front of kids will influence kids to dress in drag? I hope so.
Do you think exposing children to drag will result in more kids doing drag eventually?
I think so, and I hope so.
Do you like dancing for little children? You don't think that's disgusting? Dancing around for little children? Away from me. Don't you think that's disgusting? I need you to don't think that's,
get the away.
Hey, well, you can't just touch me. You don't think that's
touch me. Your mom's
disgusting?
Go on.
You don't think that's disgusting?
What do you say to the children that, whose parents wouldn't bring them to something like this?
That they have a place here. They have people who will support them and continue to love on them. And I'm so sorry that their family doesn't give them that, but they can find family in others.
Your children should be home. Your kids aren't actually gay. You've just groomed them. You're a groomer. Christ is king! 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 Christ is king!
Regardless of what's happening on outside, like I said, it's what's happening in the building, and we were here for these children to show them that they are loved. So,
While they took their money. Amy asked, how is this not pornography? Kids can't even watch PG-13 movies. Do you really think that in this climate, that if a film that was NC-17, that in this climate, let's say in San Francisco, in New York, if there was a gay, fully frontal love scene, that these people would bat an eye? Do you think anybody would? No, not at all. If it was heterosexual sex, absolutely. Katie barred the door. The police would be dragging people off to prison. But if it was gay, transgender, binary, any of that stuff, and everybody in the whole screen was nude, they'd be taking the classes down there like it was going to watch The Inconvenient Truth or Malcolm X. It would be a class trip. That's where we're headed.
oh yeah.
I wonder if the mama bear instinct is going to come out in 3 years when the mainstream Democrat Party platform is they want to rape your kids. And they're all going to think it's one big, smug little joke, these people, by the way. Understand that there is a bigger difference between 10 years ago and now than there would be between now and in 5 years when they're openly advocating for pedophilia like they've already started doing. You people are the symptom of a dying society, and you know it.
Amen. You're going to hell too, little girl.
Amen.
Blessed are amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
And they're always the classiest of people. This fine gentleman spat on a girl. Spat on a young girl. That's the kind of decency these people are preaching. Now, I try to show this to my kids all the time, and they sit there and they just go, yeah, he was right. Was he? Yeah, they should totally get outraged. Oh, really? Okay, this makes a point. This totally warms people to your ideals. But this is what they're doing. This is what's in front of them every day. You ought to be concerned, ladies and gentlemen. How did this go from we just want to get married to twerking for 6-year-olds? Because, and look, I said this before. Let me say this again. I warned everybody 22 years ago. I warned everybody. When I said, don't believe the hype. I shouldn't say 22 years ago. I'm sorry. 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I said, don't believe the hype. People said, oh, everybody thinks it's going to be a slippery slope once we get gay marriage. We're going to want everything under the sun. And I went, okay, tell me how that's not going to be a slippery slope. That's not what we want. No one's talking about you. What we're talking about, what others will do. When you set a precedent or you remove it, the floodgates happen. The world is not enough. Do you not get that? Do you understand that if you can manipulate a person to do one thing that you want, no one in their mind, no human being, and I don't care who you are, I don't care how virtuous you are, I don't care how good and loving and caring you are. You could have the best intentions in the world. If you can get somebody to move a little on your position, there's no telling where you'll end. It's innate in us. It just is. It feels good to influence people. It feels good to change people's minds. Influence is everything to the human psyche. It's just true. Wives do it to husbands. Husbands do it to wives. Boyfriends do it to girlfriends. Girlfriends do it to boyfriends. Come on, guys. How many times? How many times? You know the girl really, really doesn't want to? Come on. Come on. Or the girlfriend who really wants the expensive purse and you can't afford it. But you kind of feel guilty telling her no. Lord knows I feel guilty every day. Goddamn Roseanne wants a pair of cowboy boots, and I know it's going to cost me $500, but I keep telling her no. But guess what? I know what's going to happen. I'm going to pay for them. And she's going to get me. And guess what? And I told her, I said, no, we cannot spend the money. We have to save that money because I have to buy something. I have to pay for something that's about $300, and we don't have the money for it right now. But guess what? She's going to say, oh, I saw these really, really good boots, and I'm just going to go, and I'm going to be, and again, I'm going to be influenced because that's how it works. Everybody is like that. And sure enough, you got your gay marriage, and now what do we have? We have women marrying cats and cattle and horses. We do. We do. What happens when everything must be tolerated, folks? What happens when everything must be tolerated for the sake of not what's the word I'm looking for? Discriminating against. What will be tolerated? Where do you draw the line when all of them are being erased? If the argument is always you need to be tolerant, imagine what you're going to be tolerant of. There has to be a line somewhere. And if that line gets smudged, there are no lines. Because all you have to do is ask people, okay, where do you draw the line? No one knows where. It's always ambiguous. Think about what you're seeing here, folks. There's a sign behind the dancer that says it's not going to lick itself. There are kids in there. They don't want tolerance. They want acceptance. That's not what they want. They don't want acceptance. No. They want obedience. Keone says, I definitely don't condone what I saw in the video you presented. That said, didn't many Catholic parents walk their children into the Catholic churches where many of those children were sexually abused for years? You know what, Keone, I'm going to answer your question as valiantly as I can. Who in what world has condoned priests' sexual molestation of children? What parent walked their kid into a Catholic church with the intent to give their child sexually to a priest? What parent walked their kid into the Catholic Church with that intent? These are parents. If you are trying to compare apples to apples here, there are parents who gave their little kids dollar bills to give to a dancing drag queen in a strip club. Show me the qualifier that you can compare this to the Catholic Church, where kids were molested against their will and the will of their parents. Really, dude? I hope you're being serious here. Or maybe you're trying to poke the bear so that we can talk about Catholics and Christianity, as if that's a means to say, one good molestation deserves another. Is that what you're suggesting? I'd love to understand where you're going with that. Rama says, so it's taking them to a gentleman's club. Okay, now, exactly. Acceptance is different than tolerance. They want everyone to believe what they are doing is okay. Oh, fair enough. I get what you're saying, Mike, but I believe there's a degree of coercion. I do believe that there's a degree of dictatorship here, of telling people what you are allowed to say. It's like, you can never challenge us. And challenging us is homophobic, and you don't want to be that. And if you're that, we have to ruin you. We have to destroy you. Because there has to be, and I think there's a part of what this guy, although inflammatory, there's a part of what that guy's saying which is kind of true. At what point do you draw the line? Right? Because we've already seen people suggest, right? I think it was a Columbia University professor who suggested that minor attracted people, MAPS as they were, was a legitimate sexual preference. And this person had to be put on leave. I don't know whether or not they were fired, but I know they were put on leave. This is a college professor that is advocating for MAPs, M-A-Ps, minor attracted people. Now, again, whose minors are they talking about? Yours. So what do you think's going to happen? How many parents do you think you're going to... What do you think the parents did, Keone, when they found out that the priests were molesting their children? Now you're going to find out that it's teachers, neighbors, strip clubs, drag queen events. You don't boycott an entire religion because of bad priests. Maybe boycott the specific church. But no one walked their kids into a church under a sign that said it's not going to lick itself. Well done. Well done, Amy. Well done. So you're going to make it okay for college guys to bang high school girls? Yeah, that's right. Is that going to be okay? These things have to be thought through completely. I don't think anybody's thinking. That's just me. Anyway, I just figured I wanted to share all of that. So there's a new documentary out about January 6th. As you may know, this Thursday, the January 6th hearings are going into prime time because America needs to know what happened. Now, what America doesn't know is that there are millions of minutes of video inside the Capitol that the government refuses to share with the American public. Ask yourself why. Now, many people are saying, well, in those videos, you might be able to understand the security layout of the Capitol. There were thousands of people inside the Capitol with their cameras rolling, with videos all over the internet, who have the same footage. That's nonsense. And if somebody is in jail who is fighting for their freedom, all exculpatory evidence is supposed to be provided to that defendant. Otherwise, this is a tainted prosecution. Right? So why are they hiding it? They're not just hiding it from the American public, they're also hiding it from the defendants and the defendants' attorneys. Those people are also locked up for months, well, a little more than a year now. Many of them in solitary confinement. Many of them are being abused in unspeakable ways. But there's a new documentary called The Truth About January 6th. An insurrection, they say, huh? Have you seen this footage before? I know I didn't. Here's some footage of some people who are walking into the building, and if you look to your left and to your right at the bottom of your screen, there are two police officers there. Here's the ground view of that same area. Is that a police officer right there with a mask on? Yes, it is. Let's go further. Is that a police officer standing there? Yes, it is. How about on this side? Oh, there are two more police officers there as people walk in to the Capitol building. Insurrection, you say. Insurrection. That is forceful entry into a building. Not what I'm seeing in this footage. There's more.
Peacefully to discuss what needs to be done to save our country.
Here's one police officer negotiating with the protesters, telling them to remain calm, and we'll let you walk through the Capitol. Insurrection, you say. Insurrection?
We're not going to assault. We're going to be heard. Everybody, this must be peaceful.
One person, you may remember him. He's on your screen now. He is the one who is wearing the horns. Here's a police officer escorting him into the Senate floor. Escorting him. As the QAnon shaman, that's what he's referred to as, I've got him on video too, is escorted in by police. He wasn't dragged out. He's just followed in, escorted into the Capitol floor. Smiling. So my question to you is, I thought that this was an insurrection. Now, was there violence? Sure there was. Were people crushed to death? Yes. In fact, there's videos in this documentary that shows how the police are responsible for killing a woman, having her crushed to death. Oh, and that video is very vivid. That video is very, very shocking. You can watch the video now by going to the Gateway Pundit, the gatewaypundit.com. It's the top video on the screen as soon as you go there. You can watch it. It's a 45-minute documentary narrated by a guy by the name of Jake Long, who is still incarcerated and one of the people that tried to save the life of the woman who died in that footage. In fact, he tried to save two people's lives. Can we see the video of some of these same people clobbering the police officers? Yeah, there are plenty of people who were clobbering the police officers. Those people are still not insurrectionists. Those people committed violent acts against police officers. But Keone, you always are so timely. Here are the BLM riots of 2020. Let's take a look.
We begin tonight with a nation already on edge in the coronavirus pandemic as protests turn violent across America.
During
look at
2020,
that.
there was up to $2 billion in damage due to the riots that swept the nation.
Now, as you can see in that video, there are plenty of people who are holding AR-15s in the streets as they riot. There were no guns by protesters on January 6th. Where's all the burning and the fires that happened on January 6th at the Capitol building? I didn't see any. Did you? Not a one.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis.
That ain't a riot, Joy Reid says. That ain't a riot that we're seeing in Minneapolis. You know that's a goddamn riot. Oh, no, but the news media covered for them. You think they didn't cover for them? Let's listen.
How I characterize this is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly.
That's right. It's mostly a protest. It is not generally unruly. Behind him, buildings ablaze. It's not unruly. People's private businesses are up in flames. But there's the news media saying, nah, nothing to see here. Don't believe your lying eyes.
What is the hidden agenda between the difference of treatment from the January 6th political prisoners to the Black Lives Matter and Antifa rioters?
Principled anti-fascist.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
It says it right in the name, Antifa, anti-fascism, which is what they were there fighting. Listen, there's, no organization is perfect. There are some.
Oh, look at that. Don Lemon saying no organization is perfect. No organization is perfect. Neither were the people on January 6th.
No organization is perfect. There was some violence.
I mean, look at all the destruction.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite.
Hey, look at that, Chris Cuomo. Hey, show me where protesters are supposed to be polite. Why isn't the same leverage given to the folks on January 6th? By the way, this is all in the documentary. There's Chris Cuomo on CNN, now fired Chris Cuomo. Tell me where in the Constitution protesters are supposed to be polite. The protest at the Capitol wasn't polite, right? According to them. Oh, all of a sudden, insurrection. Oh, this is against our democracy. People's private businesses, people's private property destroyed.
And peaceful.
I don't care that much about statues.
Throwing it into the harbor.
People will do what they do.
People will do what they do, Nancy Pelosi said. No condemnation of this behavior. People are going to do what they do.
Seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Do not get it twisted and think that, this is something that has never happened before, and this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
That's right. This is how this country was started. The country was started with rioting and blowing ish up. Don't get it twisted. This is how things get done, right? But January 6th, we need to have a primetime event for that, right? When it was BLM and Antifa, oh, come on, man. Don't be getting it twisted. This is how things get done. This is how the country was founded. So people stormed the Capitol building, and what did we get? Oh, the horror. Come on, man. Don't play that. Don't even play me with the hypocrisy. Keone says, didn't the BLM protest have Antifa members start the riot insurrection at the state capitol on January 6th? I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody even matters whether or not they started. The bottom line is that it's a two-tiered justice and media system. I'm showing you what every one of these people said about what was mostly peaceful with everything burning down. You folks had nothing to say about that. That's not us. Remember that? BLM protest starts. Nighttime comes. The town is on fire. You can't blame BLM for that. Protesters, people at a rally at Washington Monument. Melee happens over at the Capitol. There was no battery sold separately going on there, right? The people who are at the Washington Monument are the same people at the Capitol. The 300,000 people who were there for a rally for President Donald Trump are associated with the people who ran into the Capitol. They haven't been separated. They've all been in conjunction. But when BLM and Antifa were setting ish on fire, oh, no, it's not the same thing. Don't play yourselves. The mostly peaceful in front of burning buildings clip always reminds me of Baghdad Bob. Yes, exactly. Nothing to see here. Nothing is burning. We're winning the war. Listen to Joy Reid.
Before, and this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad.
Most of the major movements in American history have started at the grassroots level and at some point have turned into direct conflict with American government.
So here's Chris Cuomo again saying that, listen, folks, sometimes the things that you're seeing on your screen, do not be alarmed. Sometimes people's protests will come directly as an affront or confront the American government. Listen to what he says. This guy believes that January 6th was a threat to our democracy. But when it was the Antifa and Black Lives Matter thing, please understand that sometimes this is the way things have to get done.
Most of the major movements in American history have started at the grassroots level and at some point have turned into direct conflict with American government.
Turned into direct conflict with the American government. It can't get any more direct conflict with the American government than January 6th. They went to the Capitol. They didn't burn down a Starbucks, dude. They didn't burn down a CVS or a Target store. They didn't loot the Nike and Gucci place. None of those places are government. What are you trying to say? So again, here are their words right back at them. And these people will act like they never even said them. You don't know that you're on tape, stupid? It always comes back to bite them. I don't know who those people are. You might want to ask them. Keone said because that's what conservative Republicans were saying when the insurrection riot started. Who are those people? You want to, instead of being so vague, who are you talking about? Who said that? He isn't named Fredo for nothing. Yeah.
So remember your history before you...
Remember your history. I forgot about that part. Let me roll that back. Remember your history, he says.
So remember your history before you judge your present.
Remember your history before you judge your present. Yeah. That didn't age well. But always remember this from Auntie Maxine Waters. Remember what she said about the Trump administration? Remember, Trump incited violence by telling people to march down peacefully and cheer on your elected officials. That was a call for an insurrection, huh? That's interesting.
Do you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station? You get out and you create a crowd, and you push back on them, and you tell them they're not welcome.
That's right. You push back on them and you tell them they're not welcome. That was her to an angry mob screaming about Republicans. How incredible. Just absolutely incredible. So Thursday, there's going to be this primetime event. This primetime event is important for you to watch, folks, because you need to understand exactly what happened on that day. And remember, January 6th is the most important day in history. I mean, it's 9/11. That's not my words. That's MSNBC's words. It's 9/11. What happened on January 6th is tantamount to a terrorist attack amongst our elected officials. Interesting. But if you think that's crazy enough, folks, you have a hard time buying gas or putting food on the table. And what do media types want you to focus on? They're angry that you may not watch. You may not watch the January 6th hearing in prime time. Here's a woman by the name of Yamiche Alcindor. This woman works for PBS, the public broadcasting system, paid for by taxpayer dollars for her to be a partisan hack. She actually thinks that January 6th is more important than you being able to put food on your table.
This is a moral test for the Republican Party, she writes, a test that she says too many in her party are failing. And she and Jamie Raskin and others are saying this hearing, has to tell people why this is so important.
Well, it's a poignant tweet from Liz Cheney, who has really weathered so much backlash within her party to take this stance. But she's saying that this is about democracy. This is about the American experiment and whether or not we want our democracy to fall apart or whether or not we want to look at what happened on January 6th and be cautioned by it and learn from it and really understand what happened. I think the biggest challenge for lawmakers here as they talk about these sort of huge ideas of American democracy and sort of the experiment that we're all living and benefiting from possibly being brought to his knees is whether or not they can make people care, Andrea. There are so many things that people are juggling between gas prices and inflation, baby formula, abortion, and the shootings that are happening. These lawmakers are going to try to now have a narrative to focus the country's attention to say, look at this thing, do not turn away, and understand that while all those other things are really, really important, the foundation of our country, what makes our country function, is the democracy that we have to protect. And they're going to have to do that in the face of Republicans who are lying still about the 2020 election and who are getting elected and installing people who have the really motivations that were what happened and why people broke into the Capitol in the first place.
Now, mind you, Yamiche Alcindor is supposed to be a nonpartisan reporter for the public broadcasting system that is paid for by everyone's tax dollars. Did you hear anything nonpartisan from that objective journalist? Not a bit. With all of those things that you're concerned about, what are Democrats doing? They are putting on a live primetime event about somebody breaking into the Capitol building. That's what you need to focus on. They want to see how many of you are going to watch it. That's why it's being broadcast in prime time, when more people are sitting around watching TV on a Thursday night at 8 p.m. Tune in live. While we're trying to get the American people not to vote for Donald Trump in 2024 and to hopefully get you not to vote for Republicans in 2022. We'll show more footage, edited of course, of things that happened on January 6th that proves that the Republicans are evil people and Democrats care about you and yours. You must be outraged at the Capitol riots and make sure that we never elect Republicans again. Join us at 8 p.m. while we are going to preempt some of your favorite primetime shows for you to be bored to tears by congressional wrangling and nonsense about a date you've already forgotten. Don't forget to tune in. Can you believe that people are going to watch this? I doubt it. The documentary might get less viewers than the NBA playoff game. Maybe. Did I just hear you hear someone broke into the Capitol building? When? Yeah, people broke into the Capitol building. There were some people who broke in. I saw them. They broke down windows and jumped through. Others were escorted. They're not going to show you that footage. Do the shirts and hats show? Yes, they did, John. I meant to mention that to you. Yes, I did. I was going to wear them, but I got them literally before the show, and I do love them. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to wear tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to wear. I'll wear the shirts tomorrow, or the shirt and hat tomorrow for the show. And thank you if I didn't say that already. So if you're going to watch, it'll be on primetime. I know it's on ABC and CBS. NBC is still deciding on whether or not they're going to not show Law & Order SVU because everybody loves that program. I think Law & Order SVU is on Tuesday. I'm not sure. I've never watched that program. I can't think of anything else. I don't know if PBS is going to show it. I know C-SPAN will cover it. I'm certain that C-SPAN will cover it. But we'll talk about that. Today, I was supposed to talk about some Black history stuff today. Folks, I'm working on this in the next, because Juneteenth is coming very soon. So here's what it is I'm going to do, and I'm going to talk to you about it before we get out of here. So with Juneteenth coming very soon, there are people, some of them my friends, who talk about the American history, and especially American Black history in this country, forgetting very important facts. They forget about a lot of very important individuals. I'm going to name a few people for you, and I want you to take some time to look them up because we are going to be focusing on these individuals. Now, before I say anything that ticks anybody off, let me explain to you what I'm talking about. So, my good friend Jay King does a history moment on his show. This is not counter to that, for those who listen to Jay King. However, I do believe that there are people who are misrepresenting our history. And when I mean our, I mean my Black history. They are misrepresenting it. Because they do not talk about people who were involved in our history as early as the 17 and 1800s. People talk about law. People talk about Congress. People talk about our government. But they fail to mention the amount of African Americans who were involved in state and federal government in the 17 and 1800s. I am going to focus on them this Juneteenth. Here are some of the names we're going to talk about, and you'll be surprised at the stories you don't know about these men. James Armistead, Peter Salem, Prince Whipple, Oliver Cromwell, William Neal, Carter Woodson, Benjamin Quarles, Joseph Wilson, Edward A. Johnson. Of course, Frederick Douglass's speech, My Bondage and My Freedom. We're also going to be talking about the Northwest Ordinance passed in 1789. People don't know about that. You need to learn. Reverend Henry Highland Garnett. He was the first Black man to give a sermon in Congress after the 13th Amendment was passed. We're going to talk about P.B. Pinchback. He was the lieutenant governor of Louisiana. People don't know about that. The lieutenant governor of Louisiana. We're also going to be talking about Hiram Rhodes, Revels, Benjamin Turner, Robert DeLarge, Josiah Walls, Jefferson Long, Joseph Hayes Rainey from South Carolina, who was also briefly the Speaker of the House. Yes, a Black man was the Speaker of the House. And Robert Brown Elliott. These are all important men to know about American history, Black men in American history that were involved in government. So when people talk about the government being all white all the time, that is not true. And we'll talk about all of that. And it is part of a series that I've been checking out called The Wall Builders. All of these men, you can learn a hell of a lot about our history. And shows that we as African Americans were very involved in the making and the creation of this republic. It is very important that people know these stories. And I'm going to be a part of that. So we'll be doing that in the next coming days for Juneteenth. Please. Oh, and we will be showing documentation of these men's efforts involved in civil rights in the 17 and the 1800s. Stories you don't get everywhere else or anywhere else. So we'll do all of that, and I hope that you'll join me as we do. Getting my bag of popcorn and my best flavored pop. So we need to talk about that. Anyway. You know what that sound means. It's time for me to get up out of here. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your minds. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow, because we hope to see you back here tomorrow, too. Don't forget to check out the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and on Amazon. I'm Reese on Radio. I love you. You know I do. Be good to each other. Holla.